Just know I'm down and diligent. I'm down and diligent. Ay, mama always working late. Daddy didn't work today. I got all these bills to pay, and I'm not even thinking straight. Probably twisting up a wood, trying to see what's up today. I've been engineering all my music, feeling all type of way. Drowning in my thoughts, I might get lost up in this tidal wave.
Yo, what it do? What it do? Back again with another episode of the Down and Diligent podcast. Uh, for those that's tuning in, man, this is episode 80. First of all, I want to get that off the board, man. This is episode 80. You know, we've been down and diligent, bro. We've been here every week, just being consistent, man, giving you all great content. So, you see, I'm here. I don't got my guys with me. My boy D.A.D, Desno. Shout out to them. Shout out to Desno. Um, as you know, Black History Month, right? Black History Month, and then last year we during Black History we kind of like talked about different like people in our community, people like that did stuff in the history books, and people that like inventions and all the major people that influenced us. I mean, to where we are today, that brought us to where we are today. So we gave a shout out to them last year, and then but also last year we wanted to work on like bringing somebody that you know that's lived through it, that lived through that time, but we wasn't able to kind of make it happen. But you know, definitely this year we're here with a great episode. Black History Month. Me personally, I don't think Black History Month should just be brought down to just like 1 month. It should be like I think it should be like a lifelong like journey to kind of figure out what it is that brought Black people to where they are today. You know what I mean? And then I remember being young. My grandma really kind of like inspired that in me. She used to tell me about my Black history and stuff like that. And like ever since then, I was like, you know what I mean? I'm reading, I'm watching documentaries, YouTube, all that. So man, we here with a great episode, man. I need y'all to tune in, your ears open, you mean your minds open. But first of all, I want to introduce my boy, Tony. Big homie Tony D.
What's the
Man,
deal?
this
What's the deal?
I've
What's
been
the deal?
I've been knowing this dude since how
Man,
since we was like
second grade.
second grade.
What's that?
Second grade, man.
Yeah.
So that's over 30, well, 30 plus years, man. Been knowing, man. And it's a blessing to have a friend for so long, bro. And,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
I consider you a friend, bro. One of the funniest dudes I know, like constantly,
For sure.
constant comedian, man. Just been laughing at his jokes for years, bro. Good dude, though, man. Glad you was able to come on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Wish my guys was here. You feel me?
Yeah.
Shout
Next time
out
they
to
gonna
my
tune in.
guys.
They'll
Love
be here.
y'all, man. Man, I'm just like I said, this Black History Month, man. So I'm glad that I could be part of this. You feel
Sure.
me? History has always been something that was really important to me. Because of the person that we got here with us today.
Oh, for sure.
You feel me? I'll be 36 years old in less than a month.
hmm
And my entire life has been heavily focused on who we are, our heritage, you feel me, both spiritually and just who we are as people, you feel me? And it's something I'm proud of. And it's 100% because of the man that's next to me. And that man is my father, my grandfather, you feel me? The man
Grandfather.
that raised me. 84 years old, born and raised in North Carolina. But I'll let him get into that, man. We got Mr. W. Harold Pierce here with us.
Mr. Pierce. My name is Mr. Pierce. Thanks for coming, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you. It's
Appreciate
it's a
you
pleasure
coming
to
out.
be here. I enjoy interacting with my young brothers.
Mhm.
I really do. And at 84, that's my purpose, is to see how I can positively influence our young Black men
Mhm.
in a world that is bent on catastrophe and looks like self-destruction.
Right.
But it's up to us to prevent that.
Right. And I think that's what our podcast is about, the Down and Diligent podcast. We want to spread love, you know, information, just reconnecting our community to like where it was like in the past where we've seen the clips of like how joyous and how big of a community we had. Well, right now we're in the same community, but there's no community, you know, within the Black.
I also want to, you know what I'm saying, like, give y'all flowers for that, you know what I'm saying? Because, know what I'm saying, as a friend, but also as a black man, as someone in the community, as someone that deals with these experiences on a day-to-day basis. We have a whole lot of spaces in this in this world,
Right.
but they're not really utilizing that space for the best,
Come on.
things.
Come on.
We
For
talk
sure.
about all kind of bullshit. We talk
Right.
about you know what I mean, any and everything but uplifting the community. And I've yet to see y'all do anything but really just
Man, for
like you said,
sure,
be
man.
down and diligent. You
Right,
feel me?
man. That's what we talk about. We like, man, we could easily jump and say some stuff to go viral and
Right,
get a bunch of followers and subscribers and all that, but we want to stick to what our
right,
purpose and our mission is to,
right.
what I mean, really rebuild our community to
That's
where
for
it
sure.
was. That's why we Down and Diligent podcast. We're here with, a great man, a historian. And then we wanna I wanna first of all, I wanna kinda like take it back a little bit and pretty much give us, let us know about yourself. You know, growing up as a black man as a young black man during the 40s and 50s during that time, post desegregation. So what does that look like for a black man during that time? Your community, your life experiences for I guess that first 20 years of your life.
I was born and raised, as I said before, in North Carolina, a
Mm,
little small town, Whiteville, small town outside of Wilmington. And in the 50s, I was born in 1940, so I grew up 40s and 50s.
mm,
And we were segregated, and it was a racist community, a racist existence.
mm,
But for the people, the black people were united because we had to be in order to survive.
mm,
And that survival became not just a slogan, but a way of life.
mhm,
And we learned that unity and dedication has to supersede all of our little personal idiosyncrasies.
come on.
In those days, my mom and dad, I can't remember a time when we left the house and locked the doors
Mm,
because the neighborhood that we lived in, it was a little neighborhood, maybe 60 homes,
mhm,
but they were all black.
mhm,
And we looked out for each other. My mom would do her washing and hang it out. And if
mhm,
we had to go someplace, if it rained, she
yeah.
didn't worry about it because a neighbor would come over, take the clothes
Man,
in, and
Oh, okay.
put them in the house.
Man, that's beautiful.
I mean,
That's a beautiful
it
existence.
was it was an existence that was difficult. It was hard
Hmm.
because we had to work. My father was a farmer.
Hmm.
My father was worked in a hospital. My father became a surgical nurse in that hospital. He was the first and only black nurse in that hospital. And that's a whole other
Hmm.
story to
Hmm.
tell. But he taught us, and he taught us to value self, each other, and our blackness.
Mm.
And we did, and his thing was education.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, but even at that time, my father knew that education was something that was, his motto was, they can take your life, they can take your wife, they can take your house, but they can't take your knowledge. He
that's
said,
it.
your knowledge, you can use guns, knives, sticks, bricks, whatever, but your best weapon, your most persistent weapon is your mind and what you know.
I mean, that's so prevalent today. I think that's what we really lacking at, like in the value of just being black, man. That's powerful. Like we don't think nobody found value in that right nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's personally, I think it's because we've gotten so comfortable in the fact that we move culture in the way that we do.
Hmm.
You feel what I'm saying? So we kind of take that for granted.
Hmm.
So because we are the gatekeepers for what's cool, we're not necessarily as attached to our actual history, the good, bad, and ugly, because
Mhm.
there is, our history doesn't just start with slavery, but it is a part of our history. You
Right.
feel what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Segregation is a part of our history. You know
Right.
what I mean? All of these things are a part of them, but because it is an ugly part of it, we
Mhm.
tend to not want to, cling to that. That's, something that I've observed.
Right. Right.
A lady friend of mine, I knew her back in the year. She's younger than me. Everybody's younger than me now, except God. But she wrote a book called some years ago called Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
Mhm.
Dr. Joy DeGrew Leary. And I'd like to give a shout out to her and the dedication
Shout
and
out.
the work that she has done. And her theory is that what we as Black people are lacking in our society now is a pre-programmed result of the fact of having gone through slavery and not having had it acknowledged
Mhm.
and not having had it, if you will, complimented for.
Mhm.
And it is not taken into consideration. And I hear all of these self-help theorists. Black people should be able to lift their self up by their bootstraps and
Right.
blah.
Right.
But let me tell you something. The mind is an awesome, awesome thing. And when we were taught during slavery not to talk back, not to do this, not you have to do it this way. You have to,
Mhm.
we had to pass. They had to pass that down to their children, not because they were cowards, not because they were afraid, but because they wanted their children to live,
Survive
Right.
for sure.
and they knew that if they didn't live, they couldn't raise their children to live and survive
Right.
because they had a dream. And we are now a product of the dream that they sacrificed so hard for.
Mhm.
Now, you were talking about why we don't value education and why we don't value things. The system has taught us now that it's better to be entertained than educated.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's
And so as long as they can keep us entertained, we don't require that they educate us. I have a problem with our educational system now because they're not educating our children. They're training them. You can train a monkey.
right.
Education is for people to utilize for progress. And they're afraid, the system is afraid of our progress.
Right. I learned that, like you just said, you know, helping my son out with school, with his schoolwork and all that. And
Right.
I'm reading through some of the books, and it's the same books that we had, just another edition.
Right. Just
Maybe
a little
it's the
different.
same books. This is a whole new world that they're living in,
Right.
right? Besides, from us. So I'm like, bro, this education system, like you said, it just seemed like they training, like they trained us to kind of like go, how they wanted us to go. That's what they're not educated in.
They're training the young people to respond to emotional stimuli instead of being able to involve themselves in a situation and rationalize.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Am I making any
Right, it
sense?
makes sense. It's like they're taking away their ability to kind of like think critically, like a
Right.
Critical thinking,
critical thinking.
absolutely.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
want you to come to a desired
Mhm.
outcome as
Right.
opposed to be able to navigate it yourself. You feel me?
And therein is the danger of this. What we were just talking in the car, this artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
Because what they're doing, you were mentioning about the books that you're using now for your kids.
Mhm.
Have you noticed that they are in the process now of trying to take black books out of colleges, out of grammar schools, out of high schools, out of kindergarten, and now they're taking them out of the library. Do you know why?
Well, they want to rewrite history.
They have already rewritten history, but they have to get the foundation of history out of the public's purview so that they can put it in through this electronic leash that we carry around with us all day, every day, called the computer, called the cell phone. Do you know that even the cars that they're building now is nothing more than a gigantic computer
Excuse me.
that we ride inside of instead of punching from the outside?
You see, Best Buy even got rid of all their like physical like media. Like they're getting rid of CDs, DVDs, books, things like that. So everything that like you're not gonna be able to physically get in the store, download it. You feel me? Like it's changing. I mean, how did you guys go about? I know that you said that you guys had books and things of that nature, but how'd you guys go about getting information that was hidden, that was difficult to find back then? Because like they say, they used to have sayings like, if you want to keep anything away from a black man, put it in a book, things like that. Like, how did you guys obtain this information? We have it right at the palm of our hands, so it's.
But we had teachers then. And where I went to school, where I attended school, we had black teachers for black students. And I'm not saying that was the right thing to do in a positive, equal society. But in the system that we were forced to live in, it was the best thing for us because the teachers that we had knew what we needed to survive. I have now a teacher that I spoke to her a few months ago now. She's 98 or 99 years old.
Wow.
No, she's older than that. Louise P. Turner. She gave me a book years ago called The Negro Caravan. And it's a book about this thick, and it has writings of all kinds of black people from slavery up until the 60s, I think. And it was one of the required reading for them when they were in college.
Wow.
And that got me going. And whatever we needed, whatever we required, the black teachers found a way to get it for us. What they would do, they would work with some of the college professors that they had, and they'd get certain writings, certain books, certain whatever it was necessary, and they bring that into our schools. And they taught us, not trained us, they taught us.
Right. They taught you.
And they gave us pride. We thought that we learned that to be educated is to be valued and to have a purpose.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful, for sure. Another thing I wanted to kind of like talk about. Actually, going back to that, when I was in school, in college, I studied. My major was psychology, so they had like books, and I had an African American psychology class, African American history class, and I think throughout my whole time in school, my 12, 14, 20, 15 years in school, those are the most important classes. I learned so much in those classes than I learned in any other subject, basically, man. So I just wanted to know. That's how I feel like that's how important it is to kind of like understanding our black people and our history. And that's kind of another reason why I wanted to bring you on.
And that's the reason that they're trying to take those books. If you think about it now, just a few years ago, they started with the kindergarten. We want to take these books out of the kindergarten because it makes the young Caucasian children feel bad. How the hell do you think it made our kids feel when they had to undergo that? But they take the books out of the schools. They take them out of the kindergarten first. They take them out of the middle school. They take them out of the high school. The other thing that we have a problem with is our spirituality. Most of us are afraid to acknowledge our spirituality.
Mm.
I had a guy ask me one time, I was working, and he asked me, he says, "You mean to tell me you believe in Christianity?" I said, "Yes." He said, how ignorant can you be to believe in something like that?" I said, "What do you believe?" He said, "I'm agnostic."
Mm.
I said, "Well, what does that mean?" He said, "It means that I don't believe in anything. I believe in everything around me. I don't believe there's any kind of super God or anything like that." I said, "But then if you don't believe that God exists, why does it bother you that I believe it?"
Come on. Come on.
I said, "If God doesn't exist, how can he be a threat to you
Right.
and what you believe?"
Real.
See, people have the tendency to try to destroy what they don't understand or what they fear.
Mm.
Why do you think that the society in which we live now is so bent on controlling the progress of black people? Why do you think that is?
I think in order for us to make progress, we got to understand what we've been through, and like we said, things go in cycles, right?
Right.
Life revolves in cycles, right? So if we see something that's been that our generation before us has been through, and we have knowledge on that and how they maneuver through the situation, I feel like that would better prepare us for to move forward. I feel like, and that's what they're keeping from us.
Absolutely. Because, and the reason for that is as basic as time, because they are afraid that if the playing field becomes leveled, then we will surpass any and everything that they've done.
Mm.
And then we will be in control. And our spirituality may be so devastated until we will do to them what they've done to us. And that's what they're afraid of.
Man, say that again.
That's what they're
That's
afraid of.
yeah. It
Do you
makes sense.
think about it? When I went to work after 11 years in the Navy,
Mhm.
I traveled all over the world and I enjoyed it. It was beautiful.
Right.
It had its problems, like life has its problems.
Mhm.
And you have to learn to adjust.
Right.
You either learn to adjust, adapt, or you die.
Right.
Bottom line.
Right.
But when I came out of the Navy, I went to work for an oil company in 1968. Think about it. 1968. And they were passing around a clipboard. The government said that they had to hire a certain amount of blacks, a certain amount of Hispanics, a certain amount of women, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the companies, what they would do, the people that worked in the companies would set it up so that they could force the people that come in to leave the company before your trial time period is up. So most people they'd give it. Well, we're giving them jobs, but they don't want to work. They just up and quit.
Yeah.
They make 2 or 3 checks and then they up and quit. Well, when I went there, I was determined that short of life threatening, I wasn't going to quit. I went to work for this company and it had 400 people in the department I went to work in, and I was the only black in that department. They circulated a petition. We refuse to work with niggers.
Mhm.
I'm going to use the N word because that's what they wrote on the paper. They had a clipboard. We refuse to work with niggers. And this one young man from some part of Tennessee, he said, "Look," He said, I want to show you something. He said, I don't, he said, I don't go along with this. He said, but I got a wife and kids and I got to keep my job.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I know you want to keep your job. He said, so I want you to see what you got to deal with. So maybe it'll give you a little heads up.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed me the clipboard.
That's crazy.
And the guys in the department were signing it. I said, well, let me see it. He handed it to me and I signed it.
Uh-huh.
He said, man, you going to put your name on there? I said, yeah, I don't want to work with no niggas.
Right. Right. I feel you.
A few months, I stayed there past my probation.
Uh-huh.
And so they hired another brother, and he came out of the Navy. And he and I made a pact that we would not allow them to force us to quit short of having to throw hands.
Right. Right.
We stayed. He became head of the planning department. I became head of the training department.
Mm. Diligence.
He retired after 50. He was 59, 56, 59 when he retired. He didn't have any children or anything.
Mm.
I had 5 kids and a wife, colleges, schools, so forth. So I stayed a little longer. I stayed for 39 years and 6 months. But I retired.
Congratulations.
I went back to work for another company that was owned by a brother who did work for that company.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked another 6, 8 years.
That's what's up.
But we went through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we, as the brothers would come in, we'd indoctrinate them. Hey man, they're gonna try to make you quit.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to stick this thing out because not just for us, but we got other people coming in.
Right.
And now they've got just about as many blacks and Hispanics
That's what's up.
as they have. And I'm not patting myself on the back.
Yeah, that's great. That's great work.
Because I didn't do it for this. I just did it for our survival at that time.
Right. Right. So I want to take us back a little bit more because you know what I mean, going back to your history and stuff like that. You talked about I've been doing research and I've been looking about the effects of like the Vietnam War, and you told me that you were in the Navy, and you know, you went through different wars. You said the Bay of Pigs, the war in Lebanon. I wanted to know, and we talked about the systems that are in place that have been set. That was like they started those systems around that time, right? I wanted to know your feelings on, like, you know, just being on the onset of all of those different systems that are in place, and also the effects of Vietnam and all those wars that happened, and how they affected your community.
I'm still processing that, believe it or not,
Mm.
because, okay, when I was still in high school, the veterans from World War II were coming home.
Mm.
They were coming home, and they had the VA benefits such as they were, but they weren't that much. But they could get a high school diploma through the VA, that type of thing, and a few could get some college degrees, but it was difficult. But what was most heartbreaking was to see military men go and give their limbs and their life for their country and come back and expect to be treated at least with human dignity in your country. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And so it was extremely difficult. And a lot of the guys that you saw or heard about, and even now, because Vietnam was crazy, that was a crazy one. But even now, you find men in prison and in hospitals and in the cemetery who did not know how to reinstill themselves into this system that we had fought and died for, but come back to this country and couldn't live. And then you had another group that didn't go or hadn't been there, and they saw the injustice of it all.
Mhm.
So they wanted to fight the system. But this system is such that the only way you can beat this system or win in this system is to fight the system within the system. You've got to learn how the system operates
Mhm.
and learn what you can do within that system to weaken the negatives of the system, and then fill that negative with a positive.
With a positive.
Question, Pop.
Mhm.
We talk a lot now, and one of the big words or big topics that go on is about the emasculation of men and black men and so on and so forth. But I would have to imagine that during that time, seeing it in real time, you know, like you said, men coming home from wars and men giving their lives and limbs, you know what I'm saying, for this country, and not being able to be a man once they come home. Like, what was it like during that time to see, you know, the men of your, I guess, as you were coming into manhood, I guess you could say, uh, losing their footing. You feel me? Not, not necessarily being able to find their way. What was that like in real time? Like,
You're fighting, you come back, you're fighting two wars. You're fighting that war and you're fighting this war.
Mhm.
And you can't determine which one is most important because they both require you to survive
Mhm.
in order to survive.
Right.
So the women had gained a foothold in the system, and the system had built a platform for the women. But when the man comes back and tries to instill himself into that niche or that family unit, if you will, the woman has an issue with it because she has been the power structure, the decision maker,
quite naturally, right?
but the man is told you're not a man if you're not making the decisions. But how in the hell does he know what decisions to make when he hasn't been in the situation?
Right. Right.
So now, here's what's happening. The husband and the wife, or the boyfriend and the girlfriend, or whatever, however your situation is, are hassling each other, and the system is getting over. I had a thing, and some people will probably they may make you cut this out, but I had a thing about getting married
Uh-huh.
when I came back. And my daddy told me, he said, son, I met my wife and we got our relationship going and so forth. And I said, but I don't want to get married. And I was talking to my father about it. He said, son, he said, the reason black men don't want to get married is because they are afraid of being emasculated.
Mhm.
He said, but it isn't your wife or your woman that emasculates, it's the system. But they utilize her to do it.
Mm.
If you move in with your lady, the system cuts off her money.
Right.
If she has a job, then the system takes a part of her money because they're not going to let her progress financially above a certain station.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want her to progress, then you've got to unite with her and learn how to work together with her so that the two of you together can progress.
Right.
He said, he told me this, and I'm skipping a little bit for a minute, but the night my father died, I was sitting there talking to him, sitting by his bedside, talking to him just like I'm talking to you, and he was just as lucid as you are.
Mm-hmm.
He said, son, you see that lady in the kitchen? I said, yes. He said, who is that? I said, that's my mother. He said, yeah, but before she was your mother, she was my wife.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I've never hit her, I've never cursed her, and I've never allowed anybody else to. He said, because the way a man treats his wife defines who he is as a man. He said, if you can't live with her, leave her, but take care of your children. That's one of the things that bothers me about the young generation now.
Mm-hmm.
Young men are afraid to get married. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with it because it is the best way to make this system work, to unite the family again.
Right.
Legally.
Legally.
Because if you don't, they can keep you separated one way or the other. They keep that financial wedge going to keep you separated. But that's neither here nor there. The other thing is the fact that if you leave her, she's still got responsibility of those children.
Right.
And these are your children. I've heard guys, I ain't giving her my money so she can go get her hair done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving her my money. Do you think that the little money that you give her and whatever she might pinch off of it to kind of improve herself a little bit is going to stop your children from appreciating and benefiting from the money that you pay for their child support? Absolutely not.
All right.
You can't. I don't care how, unless you're absolutely rich in this system, you can't pay enough child support to pay the amount it takes to take care and raise a child.
I agree with that.
I've raised 5 of them, so I know.
Expensive.
Right.
And so this system is crazy in that it keeps you fighting 2 wars all the time.
All the time.
And it started back in slavery because they kept the families separated. They break families up and separate them for control.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Knowing that and knowing the things that we've experienced, the things that we've endured, also knowing that we've talked about the problems that we've had for generations. What are some things that you think that we can actively do to not only regain our stance as men in our communities, but just mend that relationship? Like, I mean, I know you're not privy to it because you're not so much on social media, but like right now we have a current war between black men and black women that we can't seem to shut up. You know what I mean? And hell, I've even participated in it. But I think that, I guess my real question is, how do we get beyond some of these barriers that, the system has put into place?
Do you know how you eat an elephant?
Very carefully, I see.
One
One bite
at
at a time.
Right.
One bite at a time. If you can get one person to understand and benefit from and realize who they are and what they are about and what their real mission in life is, if you can get one man to realize that, and he can get one man to realize that. But you know what? What our problem is, we want to go to the top and start fighting at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the way you chop a tree down. You chop a tree down at the bottom.
Right.
So what we have to do is take care of my family first, then my neighbors, then his neighbors, then his friends, and start it out from there. And work together and put these petty things aside and realize that you can fight anytime. I get so tired. Of seeing black men killing each other. Do you realize that we got as many black men killing each other as we have wars killing black men just about? And for what? Because he insulted me. He stepped on my shoe. He came in my territory. What the hell? The only territory you got is 6 foot. That's the only territory you really got.
Right.
The house that you live in, the block that you bought. When you leave here, it'll still be here. I promise you.
Thanks.
So the best thing we can do is learn to compromise with one another and try to see each other's benefits and faults, because we all got some.
Right.
I'm the only perfect liar you know. And that is my perfect lie, is that I'm perfect.
Right. So yeah, one of the questions I have for you is, we are the Dad podcast, right? So we're fathers, and we took on that role as fathers and parenting and stuff like that. I wanted to know, like, as far as old school parenting, and because I know it's a difference. You've seen the difference because you've lived through both.
Absolutely.
You've lived through both. You lived through the old school way of parenting and the newer, our newer generation of parenting. You know what I mean? And soon we're going to be raising some parents. You know what I mean? So I want to know if you had some insight or some words of direction for parenting as far as the new versus old and how we can improve, be better parents.
One of the problems that I see or that I have with young parents today is that most young parents that I see want to be their children's friend. Your children are going to have friends no matter what. They're going to have friends, good friends, bad friends, but they're going to have friends. But our job is to be a parent. And the parent's job is to raise the child to be the best parent that they can be. And the only way you can do that is by example. And what we do, and I see this most of the time, fathers want to party with their sons. We go and drink, me and my son going drinking tonight, me and my son going out, we go, no. Mothers trying to dress like their daughters, trying to drop it like it's hot, like their daughter. What in the world? No, but then when that child grows up and becomes a parent and start doing the same thing in front of your grandchild, now you got an attitude.
Right.
But that's what you produced. That's what you did. That's what you taught her.
Right.
That's what you taught him. I did not. When the first drink that I ever had in my life with my father, I was 36 years old.
36.
And I know my father drank, but I didn't drink with my father. I didn't see him drink. And I drank before I was 36, but he didn't see me drink. Because we had that respect for each other. I didn't act around my father like he was my buddy or my friend. I've never cursed my father in his life. I don't think I've ever said any curse words in front of him. And I know I never said any in front of my mother.
Right.
Because she'd have still beat me with the broom. but I'm serious. We are too busy as parents being entertained. I'm just tired. Hell, everybody's tired. But I don't feel like most of us don't feel like it. But when you take on the responsibility of raising a child, that is the most important thing you can ever do in life. Do you know that of all, I've been in the military, I've been around the world just about 2 times. I've worked for oil companies. I've taught. I've been trainers, all of these things. But of all the things that I've done that I am most proud of is I raised my children, including this one. I've never had to get them out of jail.
Come on now.
I've never had to get them out of the gangs.
Right.
I've never had to go to the hospital to see them for getting shot or beat up. And it wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen because it was easy. It happened because my wife and I made a lifelong commitment to be the best parent that we knew how. Now, I didn't commit to being a perfect parent because I didn't know how. And I still don't. And I'm still learning. But I did learn through my father that you give unselfishly to your household.
Mm-hmm.
That means your time, your money, your energy, all of that you don't feel like sharing. When you don't feel like sharing it, you got to fake it and pretend you do.
That's right. That's right.
You got to make her think. You got to make the kids think that you happy as all hell to be doing this. Right when I get in the bed by myself.
Right.
But in the meantime, I guarantee you, I am prouder of these young people that I've raised, that my wife and I raised. I'm prouder of them than I am of anything I've ever done in my life.
And that's awesome.
And it's the most fearful thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
I have never had anything frighten me more than the decision to become a husband and a father.
Wow.
That's the most frightening because they don't make no books to tell you how to succeed at it.
Right.
Everybody's got a book to tell you what to do or how to do in this circumstance, this situation, but they can't tell you how to be a successful parent because raising every child is different.
It's different.
Not just every family, but every child is different. So you've got to find out what they need to make them feel secure and important, and make them feel like they can succeed at anything they want to do.
Man.
And that ain't easy.
Right. Right.
He'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
The hurtingest thing that he ever did to me was tell me one time, Pop, I know what you're doing and I know what you're trying to do, but I need to do it on my own. That hurt. But I had to step back.
It's the truth, right?
He told me the whole truth.
Mm-hmm.
He told me the whole truth.
Right.
And I had to step back and stop participating and start praying.
Come on now. Come on now. It's time to take that.
God, please let some of the stuff that I told him make sense.
Make some sense. Right. That's really all we can really, as parents, man, we instill all this stuff into them. And then it's like, here you go, world, you know.
I was telling, I did a thing at my church yesterday on Black history. And I was telling some people after then, they were talking to me. And I said, there is a difference between preaching and teaching. Some preachers want to be teachers. Some teachers want to be preachers. And some want to be both. Some can be both. But you got to know the difference between preaching and teaching. Preaching is proclaiming information. Teaching is instructing people how to understand the information that is proclaimed and how it benefits them and how to utilize it and how to understand it. And that's the best information that I can give on raising a child, because they tell you they don't want to hear what you got to say. They're stubborn. They're the same thing you used to be, in other words.
Sure.
And you got to realize that. But what we do is pretend that we've always been perfect. No, and that we always know what's right.
Right.
No, we don't always know what's right. We trying something.
Trying right.
We
to figure it
trying
out.
something.
Right.
And if that didn't work, we talk about it at night or we make a decision.
Regroup.
And we do not let the children,
Mm-hmm.
we do not let the children separate the parents from each other because they're good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mama said, well, okay, if your mama said so, go ahead. He may be lying
Mm-hmm.
because the only children I know that ain't never lied is the ones whose mouths go up and down like this.
Right. And I ain't seen them. Right.
Well, mama said, and then you go back and ask mama, he said, you said, I didn't tell him that. I thought you said, I thought that's what she said.
Right.
No, they already got over it. They got what they wanted. So the two parents have to make their decisions together and try to make the best decision that you can for the parent, for the child at the time.
Right.
And then pray.
Right. Right. So my goal with this episode was to kind of, get all the information that you've been getting. It's been a blessing. I feel like this is a great episode, and a lot of people are gonna learn a lot from you. Just from your stories and your words of encouragement. But I want to know, for the people out there, that's all of our listeners. Can you give them some words of like guidance, encouragement, and how you would want the next generation to move forward in terms of like black community?
Okay, I want to say two things. One, I think what you guys have put together is a beautiful, beautiful program.
Thank you.
And I think that this thing can be something that your kids and grandkids can be proud of, because I see the seriousness and the dedication in it.
Mhm.
And the best thing that I can suggest for people to do is stop pretending.
Mm.
Because I found out that whatever you pretend to be, before you know it, you'll become that. So if you want to be a great parent, pretend that you are,
Mhm.
and try to do everything that you think will make great parenting. And sooner or later, you'll look back when you're 84 and you say, I didn't do too bad.
Didn't do too bad.
I didn't do too bad. I didn't do it all right.
Mhm.
And I wish I had done this and I wish I had done that. But I didn't do too bad, because I'm proud of what my son or what my daughter is doing with his children,
Mhm.
because he's doing some things right. He's making some mistakes,
Yeah, you damn right.
but he is trying
Mhm.
to do the right thing. It's the ones that say it ain't important enough, or I don't care,
Right.
or me first. If you want to be me first, don't have children. Because once you have children, your life no longer belongs to you.
Mhm.
You've made a lifelong commitment to that young person or those young people. And if we are going to overcome, as black people, if we're going to overcome the situations that this system has promulgated upon us, we are going to have to go back and look and see what worked.
Mm. Right.
And try that. And if it works, put that in our little bag. I'm going to keep this. If you see where it didn't work, get rid of it and try something else.
Right.
But don't forget that family and unity is more important than bubble gum and popcorn and bullshit.
And entertainment, yeah.
Because they will keep you entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And you mess around and you find out that you stayed too long at the fair. The fair, You've been to the fair,
Right,
you've
right.
been to the circus,
Mhm.
and when you first get there, all the beautiful music and
Lights
the
and
lights and
everything,
the
right.
popcorn and the this and the
Mhm.
that and the animals and everybody's happy and enjoying. And as time goes by, you start to see people drifting off, and there's less people in the line here and less people in the line here, and fewer people, more trash on the ground, more garbage, more this. And the first thing you know, the Ferris wheel has stopped, and the lions have laid down. They tired, and the animals are quiet, and the music is off, and the sun's coming up, and all you see is where somebody threw up on the ground and where somebody dropped trash, and
Right.
everything is a mess. And you got a hangover, and you're broke,
Mhm.
and now you're heading home, and you got to fight. You stayed too
Too long.
long at the fair.
Come on now. Man.
Well, as a product of the commitment, you know what I'm saying, that you took as a husband and a father, and not even directly, because as most people don't even know, you're not even my blood. You know what I'm saying, grandfather. You married my grandmother, who had 3 children before you came into the picture, and just at the point where you were getting ready to, I guess, retire, and come all of your dreams come to fruition. Here comes another child, and you didn't back down. You didn't, cower away. You feel me? And I appreciate you for that. I've said it, but I don't know how I could ever express that to you. So I do appreciate you for that. I've probably been the most difficult of all the kids
Yeah,
that
I
you
agree.
had to raise.
Right.
I
I
agree.
probably put the most of those gray hairs on your head, but like I said, your commitment and the example that that you are is every bit of the reason that I haven't succumbed to the things that I could have. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And
Say
I
that, man.
appreciate you, love you dearly.
It's a
That's
blessing, man.
that's another feather star in my success.
Right.
But I'll tell you this, the reason you were the most difficult is because when you came into our life, my baby was 30 some years old.
Mm.
And your uncles and your aunts and your grandmother and your grandfather and everybody else spoiled the hell out of you.
Mm.
Now that's the truth.
I'll take it.
Because we not gonna let him go through what we went through.
Mhm.
Tommy used to send a limousine over to Jordan to pick him up from school
Yeah.
and take him to the airport to fly to Jamaica.
Wow. Man.
Pick him up from the airport and fly him limo bring him home to get his golf clubs so he could fly to Las Vegas to play in a golf tournament.
Wow. Wow.
He was spoiled, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And he was difficult.
Mhm.
But we succeeded because he didn't go to jail.
Mm.
He didn't get in no gangs. He's raising 2 beautiful babies that I love dearly.
Right. Man, you guys did a good, just from a friend, man. Tony is a good dude. That's my guy. That's my guy, man.
Appreciate it,
Um,
man.
Second of all, I want to thank you for coming. It's a great episode. I hope that
Been my pleasure.
hope to have you more and more often, man. We could do this more, and you know what I mean, to all our listeners, all our viewers. You know what I mean, I hope this episode you learn something from this episode and probably get inspired to kind of like want to do your own research and kind of figure out your history and your background. So, and I feel like that's what we need in order to move forward. So, Down and Diligent Podcast, episode 80. Shout out my boy D.A.D, Desno. You know what I mean, Down and Diligent Podcast. We out.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.